First contact's price. The Helios space station's observation deck offered an unparalleled view of Saturn's rings, but Admiral Sarah Chen's attention was fixed on the holographic display floating before her. The message was brief, yet it would change humanity's course forever. Multiple vessels detected entering Sol's outer boundary. Energy signatures matched no known human configurations. Largest fleet movement since surveillance began. 20 years of waiting, watching, and preparing had led to this moment. Humanity had known they weren't alone since detecting the first alien transmissions in 2045. Instead of announcing their presence to the galaxy, Earth's united governments had chosen a different path. Secret preparation, hidden observation, and the development of technologies that would ensure humanity's survival in a potentially hostile cosmos. The HSS Artemis hung in the void beyond Neptune's orbit, its quantum-shifted hull rendering it invisible to conventional sensors. Commander James Rodriguez stood at its helm, dark eyes fixed on the tactical display as the refugee fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel. 15 vessels of varying sizes, their hulls bearing the scars of recent weapons fire, desperately pushing their drives beyond safe limits. Analysis. Rodriguez's voice carried the weight of humanity's first potential intervention in galactic affairs. Lieutenant Maya Patel's fingers danced across her console. 17 civilian vessels, sir. Energy readings suggest their engines are well beyond critical. Life support failing on at least 3 ships. They're running from something. She paused, her eyes widening. Multiple contacts emerging behind them. Warships, sir. Big ones. The pursuing fleet materialized like predators emerging from the depths. 5 massive vessels bristling with weapon emplacements. Their hull design spoke of intimidation as much as function, covered in sharp angles and protruding weapon arrays that glowed with barely contained energy. The Vardaks, Rodriguez muttered. Intelligence had identified them months ago. An expansionist empire that had been systematically absorbing or destroying smaller civilizations in their sector. Earth had watched, gathered data, and prepared, knowing that eventual contact was inevitable. Sir, Maya's voice carried urgency. The refugee vessels are broadcasting distress signals. Universal translators are processing. They're begging for help. The Vardaks are charging weapons. Rodriguez straightened in his command chair. Humanity had planned for first contact to be on their terms, not rushed into action by an unfolding humanitarian crisis. But plans rarely survived contact with reality. Signal the fleet, he ordered. Quantum shift complete in 3 minutes. Prepare to reveal our presence. Throughout the solar system, hidden vessels similar to the Artemis powered up their systems. Humanity's secret armada, built over 2 decades using technology that most galactic civilizations would consider impossible, prepared to show itself. The first Vardak shots streaked across space, their plasma weapons carving into the engines of the slowest refugee ship. The vessel's shields flickered and died, its hull beginning to break apart under the assault. Signal incoming from the Vardak's flagship. Communications Officer Chen reported. They're broadcasting in general frequencies. Translation coming through. These criminals have violated imperial law. Interference will be considered an act of war. Rodriguez allowed himself a grim smile. Send our response. Standard first contact package, followed by this. This is Commander Rodriguez of the human spaceship Artemis. You are entering protected space. Cease your attack or face immediate consequences. The response was immediate. A barrage of weapon fire directed at the Artemis position. The shots passed harmlessly through empty space as the quantum shift completed, the human vessel phasing partially out of normal spacetime. All ships, execute Operation Daybreak, Rodriguez commanded. The Artemis appeared behind the Vardak's fleet, its hull becoming visible for the first time as quantum fields redirected energy into weapons systems. Across the battlefield, 4 other human vessels materialized, their positions forming a perfect pentagon around the Vardak's warships. Target their weapon systems, Rodriguez ordered. Minimal casualties. Let's show them why humanity chose to wait and watch before revealing ourselves. The Artemis's main weapon was unlike anything the Vardaks had encountered, a quantum entanglement beam that linked targets at the subatomic level, allowing precise manipulation of matter and energy. The alien vessel's shields meant nothing against weapons that technically existed in a different phase of space-time. Within moments, the Vardaks' fleet hung powerless, their weapons and engines disabled with surgical precision. Not a single life had been lost. "Open a channel to their flagship," Rodriguez commanded. "Send in all known galactic languages. Your vessels have been disabled, but your life support remains functional. This is your only warning. The Sol system and its approaches are under human protection. We have remained hidden not out of fear, but out of choice. That time has ended." As rescue operations began for the refugee fleet, Rodriguez knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had hoped to reveal themselves gradually, but circumstances had forced their hand. Now they would have to deal with the consequences of showing a fraction of their true capabilities to the galaxy. The refugees, a species calling themselves the Nilari, were humanoid beings with iridescent skin and compound eyes. Their leader, First Speaker Thela, stood on the Artemis's bridge, her translator converting her harmonic speech into English. "We had heard rumors," she said, "of a species that watched from the shadows. Some called you myths, others spoke of ghost ships that appeared during times of crisis only to vanish again. But none imagined." She gestured to the disabled Vardaks fleet. "This level of advancement." Rodriguez nodded solemnly. Humanity learned long ago that superior technology alone doesn't guarantee survival. We needed to understand the galaxy first, its politics, its peoples, its conflicts. Now that we've shown ourselves, there's no going back. As the refugee fleet was escorted to safe harbor within the Sol system, Rodriguez knew that across the galaxy, reports of this encounter would spread. Humanity's age of silence was over. The question now was how the galaxy would respond to discovering that one of its youngest spacefaring species might also be one of its most formidable. The Vardak ships were towed to the edge of the solar system and left with enough power to limp home, a message in itself. Humanity wouldn't destroy disabled enemies, but neither would they tolerate aggression in their space. In the command center of the Helios station, Admiral Chen watched the after-action reports with a mixture of pride and concern. "Send word to all our observation posts," she ordered. "Operation Revelation is now active. It's time to let the galaxy know that humanity stands ready to protect those who cannot protect themselves." The age of humanity's isolation was over. The age of responsibility had begun. The Silent Guardian. Within the crystalline spires of the Vardak's High Command, Supreme Overlord Kextar watched the battle footage for the 100th time. His scaled skin had darkened to a deep purple, a sign of intense agitation among his species. The human ships moved like nothing he'd ever seen, appearing and disappearing at will, their weapons bypassing the Empire's strongest shields, as if they weren't there. "Impossible," he hissed, massive claws leaving marks on his command throne. "No species achieves this level of advancement in secret. Where did they hide their research facilities? Their testing grounds? Their industrial centers?" His intelligence director, Valon, stepped forward, her scales a nervous green. "Supreme Overlord, we've compiled all available data on Earth and its solar system. For decades, we dismissed them as primitive. Their visible technology suggested early space exploration at best. But now," she gestured to new holographic displays showing detailed scans of human space. The images revealed something that shook the Empire to its core. Quantum energy signatures, previously thought to be background radiation, appeared everywhere. Human ships had been shadowing Vardak's fleet movements for years, gathering intelligence, studying their tactics, all while remaining completely undetected. Back on the HSS Artemis, Commander Rodriguez was conducting a very different meeting. The ship's quantum fields had created a space-time bubble around the vessel, allowing them to observe weeks of Vardak's reactions in what would appear as hours to the outside universe. "The Nilari refugees are safely established in the Europa outpost," Lieutenant Puddle reported. Their technical expertise in biochemistry is remarkable. They're already collaborating with our scientists on improving life support systems. Rodriguez nodded, but his attention was on the larger tactical display. Hundreds of quantum signature markers showed the positions of Earth's hidden fleet throughout nearby space. Each dot represented years of preparation, a ship crew that had trained in complete secrecy, ready for this moment. "What's the status of Operation Silent Watch?" he asked. Admiral Chen's hologram appeared in the command center. "Our observers report increased Vardak's fleet movements across 3 sectors. They're trying to project strength, but we can see the panic in their actions. More importantly, other species are starting to emerge from hiding. The Vardak's grip on their subjected worlds is weakening." The quantum display shifted, showing a new signal approaching from the direction of Vardak space. A diplomatic vessel, broadcasting on open frequencies. The Vardaks were ready to talk. Lieutenant Chen's fingers danced across her console. "Sir, we're detecting quantum fluctuations from the diplomatic vessel. They're trying to copy our technology. Poorly." Rodriguez allowed himself a small smile. "Of course they are. Humanity's greatest advantage isn't our technology. It's that we understand its fundamental principles. They're trying to reverse engineer the effects without grasping the quantum mechanics behind them." The diplomatic vessel was escorted to a designated meeting point in neutral space. As a show of both confidence and capability, the Artemis Quantum shifted into view only 1,000 kilometers from the Vardak ship, a feat their sensors would register as technically impossible. The diplomatic conference was held in a specially constructed quantum bubble, where time could be slightly adjusted to account for the different perception speeds of both species. Supreme Overlord Kextar himself had come, his massive form dwarfing the human delegation. "Your species," he began, mandibles clicking in barely contained frustration, "has hidden its true nature from the galaxy. This is an act of deception that cannot be trusted." Admiral Chen, who had arrived to lead the diplomatic mission, remained carefully neutral. "Supreme Overlord, humanity chose to observe before acting. We watched as your empire expanded through force, as you subjected peaceful species to your will. We needed to understand. Would you be friends, or would you be threats? You dare judge the empire." Kextar's scales flushed dark. "We bring order to chaos, strength to weakness." "No," Chen replied calmly. "You bring subjugation to those who cannot defend themselves. Humanity's history is filled with such empires. They all fell, eventually. We're offering you a choice now. Adapt and join a peaceful galactic community, or continue on your current path and face the consequences." To demonstrate her point, Chen activated a holographic display showing the true extent of human surveillance. Quantum signature ships appeared throughout Vardak space, near their shipyards, their fleet bases, their core worlds. The message was clear. Humanity could have struck at any time. "Your empire stands because we allow it," Chen continued. "We don't want war, Supreme Overlord. Humanity has evolved beyond the need for conquest. What we want is peace, cooperation, and the free exchange of ideas among species." As the diplomatic discussions continued, the Artemis crew monitored reactions across known space. The news of humanity's emergence and their effortless defeat of Vardak's warships had sparked a change. Subjected species began questioning their overlords. Hidden resistance movements grew bolder. The balance of power was shifting. In the Europa outpost, First Speaker Thela of the Nilari worked alongside human scientists, marveling at their approach to technology. "You think differently," she observed. "Where others build bigger weapons, you bend reality itself. Where others seek to dominate space, you learn to move through its hidden dimensions." Dr. Sarah Martinez, the quantum physics lead, nodded. "Humanity learned long ago that brute force is rarely the best solution. When we detected the first alien signals, we could have announced ourselves, shared our basic technology, and developed along conventional lines. Instead, we asked ourselves, what if we took a completely different path? That path had led to the quantum shift drives, which didn't so much move through space as shift probability states to relocate ships. It had led to weapons that targeted the quantum probability fields of enemy vessels, temporarily shifting them into states where their weapons and engines couldn't function. The Artemis continued its patrol of the solar system's edge, a silent guardian representing humanity's new role in the galaxy. They had emerged not as conquerors, not as victims, but as protectors. The message to the galaxy was clear. Humanity had arrived, and they would not stand idle while the strong preyed upon the weak. As the quantum sensors detected more diplomatic vessels approaching Earth from various species, Rodriguez knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity's quiet preparation had given them strength, but it was how they used that strength that would define their place in the galactic community. Echoes of Earth. The Great Library of Earth, constructed beneath the Himalayan mountains, had become an unexpected pilgrimage site for alien diplomats. Its vast halls contained humanity's complete historical record, from ancient cave paintings to the quantum age. Today, it hosted representatives from 12 different species, all trying to understand the species that had hidden in plain sight. Dr. Emily Chung, Earth's chief sino-historian, stood before a holographic display showing humanity's major conflicts throughout history. To understand humanity's current approach to galactic politics, she explained to her diverse audience, "You must understand our path here." The Nilari representative, first speaker Thela, watched with compound eyes that shifted colors with her emotions. Behind her, the massive crystalline form of a quantum collective observer recorded every detail, while representatives from formerly Vardax-controlled worlds listened intently. Humanity, Dr. Chung continued, learned its greatest lessons from its darkest moments. Each time we developed new weapons, we found better ways to prevent their use. Each time empires rose through force, we discovered how cooperation could build something greater. The display shifted to show Earth's first detection of alien signals in 2045. When we realized we weren't alone, we faced a choice. Our fiction had long imagined first contact scenarios, both peaceful and hostile. But we chose a third path: observation, preparation, and careful development of technologies that would ensure we could protect both ourselves and others. In orbit above Earth, the HSS Artemis maintained its quantum surveillance network. Commander Rodriguez reviewed reports from across known space. The ripples of humanity's revelation continued to spread. The Vardax Empire's client states were demanding independence, backed by the implicit threat of human intervention. "Sir," Lieutenant Patel's voice carried a note of urgency, "we're detecting unusual quantum signatures from the Carina sector. They don't match any known patterns." Rodriguez leaned forward in his command chair. The tactical display showed something unprecedented. Space itself seemed to be folding in complex patterns around a distant star system. Analysis. "It appears to be a test, sir," Patel replied. "Someone's attempting to replicate our quantum shift technology, but they're taking it in a completely different direction." This was exactly what humanity had hoped for. Their emergence hadn't just changed the political landscape, it had sparked a renaissance of scientific thought across known space. Species that had been forced to focus on conventional weapons development under Vardax rule were now exploring entirely new principles of physics. In the Vardax Imperial Palace, Supreme Overlord Kextar faced a growing crisis. His scientific advisors had failed to replicate human technology. His military commanders couldn't guarantee the security of their borders, and subjected species were growing increasingly bold in their demands for autonomy. The humans, his chief scientist explained, scales shifting to embarrassed purple, don't just use advanced technology. They understand space-time in ways we never considered. Their quantum shift drives don't fight against reality. They work with it. It would take us decades just to grasp the basic principles. On Europa, the refugee scientists had integrated smoothly with human research teams. The combination of Nilari biochemistry knowledge and human quantum mechanics had already produced breakthroughs in medical technology. Similar collaborations were spreading across Earth's sphere of influence, as species previously dominated by the Vardax found new freedom to pursue scientific discovery. Admiral Chen stood on the Artemis observation deck, watching Earth rotate below. Our ancestors dreamed of a united humanity reaching for the stars, she mused to Commander Rodriguez. Instead, we achieved unity because we found something bigger than our differences, the need to protect not just ourselves, but others. The quantum sensors suddenly flared with activity. Multiple signatures appeared at the edge of the solar system, but these weren't hostile. Ships from dozens of species, all broadcasting peaceful intentions, all seeking dialogue with the mysterious humans who had changed everything. They're not just coming to talk about technology or protection, Rodriguez observed. They want to understand how we think, why we waited, what we believe. In the Great Library, Dr. Chang had reached the modern era in her historical presentation. Humanity's strength, she explained to the assembled aliens, isn't in our weapons or our quantum technology. It's in our ability to learn from our mistakes, to choose patience over immediate gratification, and to understand that true power lies not in domination, but in protection and cooperation. The quantum collective observer pulsed with blue light, their equivalent of understanding. You hid not from fear, its crystalline thoughts translated into words, but to ensure you would emerge as guardians rather than conquerors. The implications of humanity's approach continued to reshape galactic society. The Vardax Empire, facing internal pressure and the possibility of human intervention, began a gradual transformation. Client states were granted increasing autonomy. Trade routes once controlled by military might now operated freely under human protection. In a quantum-shifted space near Saturn, the Artemis crew watched as ships from former enemy species conducted joint scientific research. Lieutenant Patil monitored the experiments with pride. They're already taking our basic principles and finding applications we never considered, she reported. The Nilari have combined their organic technology with quantum mechanics in ways our scientists are still trying to understand. This was humanity's true victory, not the defeat of the Vardax fleet, but the transformation of competition into cooperation. Earth had emerged not just as a military power, but as a catalyst for change, inspiring other species to reach beyond their limitations and imagine new possibilities. As the day cycle ended in the Great Library, Dr. Chang stood before a final display, a real-time map showing the spreading network of diplomatic, scientific, and cultural exchanges across known space. This, she told her audience, is humanity's greatest achievement. Not our technology, not our strength, but our ability to inspire others to build something greater than themselves. The Battle of 7 Stars. The Vardax attack came without warning. 300 warships emerged from hyperspace near the 7 Stars cluster, where several newly independent worlds had established a scientific research coalition under human protection. The massive fleet represented everything the Empire could muster, a last desperate attempt to reassert their dominance over the galaxy. Commander Rodriguez stood on the Artemis's bridge, watching the tactical display with calm focus. The Vardax fleet had arranged themselves in their traditional arrow formation, designed to overwhelm opponents with concentrated firepower. They clearly expected to face a handful of human vessels. All ships, execute Protocol Aegis, Rodriguez commanded. Throughout the 7 Stars system, quantum fields rippled as humanity's hidden fleet revealed itself. Not just dozens of ships, but hundreds, each positioned according to plans laid down years before this confrontation. Supreme Battle Commander Zexkar of the Vardax fleet felt his scales pale as the tactical display updated. The humans hadn't just matched his fleet, they had surrounded it completely. More disturbing were the energy readings. Each human vessel showed quantum signatures that made his scientists' instruments fluctuate wildly. Send the demand, he ordered, mandibles clicking with suppressed rage. Either the humans withdraw their protection from our former territories, or we demonstrate why the Vardax Empire has ruled this sector for 1,000 years. On the Artemis, Lieutenant Patil received the transmission. Sir, They're threatening to use something called a stellar core disruptor. Analysis suggests it's designed to trigger premature solar flares in the system's stars. Rodriguez shared a knowing look with Admiral Chen's hologram. They had known about the Vardax superweapon for months. Like everything else about their potential adversaries, humanity had studied it, understood it, and prepared countermeasures. Deploy the quantum resonance field, Chen ordered. A new type of energy pattern emerged from the human fleet, invisible to conventional sensors but profound in its effects. The laws of physics themselves seemed to shift slightly within the battle space. The Vardax fleet launched their first attack, thousands of plasma torpedoes streaking across space. At the same time, their stellar core disruptor powered up, its energy building to levels that threatened to tear apart the fabric of spacetime. But something was wrong. The plasma torpedoes curved away from their targets, their energy dispersing harmlessly into the quantum field. The stellar core disruptor's beam simply vanished, its effects negated by the altered physics within the resonance field. Impossible. Zexkar raged as reports flooded in. None of their weapons were functioning as designed. Even their shields were fluctuating, struggling to maintain coherence in the strange space the humans had created. Rodriguez's voice carried across all frequencies. The Vardax Empire built its power on weapons that destroy. Humanity chose a different path. We learned to control the fundamental forces of reality itself. This is your final warning. Stand down, or we will be forced to demonstrate the full extent of our capabilities. In response, the Vardax fleet launched their remaining weapons: antimatter warheads, gravity bombs, and temporal disruptors. The most devastating weapons in their arsenal, all proved equally ineffective against the quantum resonance field. They've made their choice, Admiral Chen said quietly. Execute Operation Starfall. The human fleet moved with impossible precision, their quantum drives allowing them to shift through space in ways that defied conventional physics. They didn't attack the Vardax ships directly. Instead, they began creating overlapping fields of altered spacetime around the enemy fleet. Zexkar watched in horror as his ship's systems began failing one by one. It wasn't damage from weapons fire. Rather, the laws of physics themselves seemed to be changing around them. Engines designed to work in normal spacetime simply ceased functioning. Weapons powered down as their underlying principles became invalid within the altered fields. Within minutes, the entire Vardax fleet hung powerless in space, caught in a web of quantum fields that rendered their technology useless. Not a single shot had been fired, not a single life had been lost. Send to all ships, Rodriguez commanded. The Vardax Empire's military power was built on the assumption that the laws of physics are constant and unchangeable. Humanity's strength comes from understanding that reality is far more flexible than that. We don't need to destroy our enemies. We simply need to change the rules they operate under. The aftermath of the Battle of Seven Stars sent shockwaves through the galaxy. The Vardax Empire, its military might negated without a single casualty, had no choice but to accept a new reality. Their remaining client worlds quickly declared independence, knowing that human protection meant they no longer needed to fear reprisals. More importantly, the battle demonstrated that humanity's approach to warfare was fundamentally different. Where other species sought to destroy their enemies, humans had found ways to simply render them harmless. It was a revolution not just in military technology, but in the very concept of conflict resolution. In the Artemis Observation Lounge, Rodriguez and Chen watched as rescue ships began helping the stranded Vardax vessels. They'll adapt, Chen noted, not just technologically, but philosophically. This defeat will force them to reconsider everything they believed about power and dominance. That was always the goal, Rodriguez replied, not to destroy them, but to show them a better way. The quantum resonance field doesn't just change the laws of physics. It demonstrates that reality itself can be transformed if you understand it deeply enough. As the human fleet maintained its protective formation around the Seven Stars cluster, ships from dozens of species arrived to witness the aftermath. The Battle of Seven Stars would be remembered not for its destruction, but for its revelation that the most advanced civilization in known space had achieved its position by choosing not to destroy its enemies, but to transform them. Dawn of a new era. 1 year after the Battle of Seven Stars, the grand chamber of the newly established Galactic Concordat hummed with activity. Representatives from over 50 species gathered in the massive space station constructed at the neutral point between major civilizations. Its design reflected humanity's influence. Quantum fields maintained perfect environmental conditions for each species while allowing direct interaction without barriers. Admiral Chen stood at the podium, her uniform carrying both human insignia and the new symbol of the Concordat, a quantum field diagram surrounding a spiral galaxy. A year ago, she began, humanity emerged from isolation to prevent the destruction of a refugee fleet. Today, we gather to formalize a new approach to galactic cooperation. The chamber's quantum acoustics carried her words clearly to each representative in their native language. Among the attendees, the reformed Vardax delegation sat quietly, their once martial bearing replaced by a more contemplative demeanor. Their recent experiences had triggered profound changes in their society. On the station's observation deck, Commander Rodriguez and Lieutenant Patel watched ships arrive through quantum space. The Artemis, now upgraded with technologies developed through collaboration with other species, maintained its vigilant patrol nearby. "Did you ever imagine this when we first revealed ourselves?" Patil asked, gesturing to the diverse collection of vessels. Each ship incorporated some element of human quantum science, combined with their own unique technological approaches. "Honestly, no," Rodriguez admitted. "We prepared for conflict, but what we achieved was transformation." The changes were evident everywhere. The Nilari, once refugees, had become leaders in bioquantum engineering, creating living ships that navigated quantum space through organic computation. The Quantum Collective had expanded their crystalline consciousness through dimensions humans had never considered. Even the Vardax had turned their industrial might toward exploration rather than conquest. In the chamber below, Admiral Chen continued, "Earth's history taught us that true power lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to transform. The quantum fields we developed weren't just for warfare. They were tools to reshape reality itself. Now, we invite all species to join us in exploring what's possible when we work together." The first major test of this new cooperation had come 3 months earlier, when a natural disaster threatened the Vardax homeworld. Their sun had begun to destabilize, threatening to destroy their civilization. Instead of taking advantage of their former enemy's vulnerability, humanity had led a massive rescue operation. Combined human and alien quantum technologies had stabilized the star, saving billions of lives. The effort had required capabilities no single species possessed alone, demonstrating the potential of genuine cooperation. The quantum resonance fields that once disabled warships, Chen explained, now power terraforming projects on dead worlds. The same principles that allowed us to hide our ships now help us explore dimensions we never knew existed. This is the true power of knowledge, not to dominate, but to transform. In Earth's quantum research facilities, mixed teams of human and alien scientists worked on problems that would have been impossible to solve alone. The Vardax's deep understanding of conventional physics complemented human quantum theory. Nilari biological insights merged with quantum mechanics in ways that opened entirely new fields of study. The HS Artemis had been joined by ships of similar design from other species, each adding their own unique modifications to the basic quantum field technology. Together, they formed the Concordat's Rapid Response Force, not primarily for military action, but for scientific exploration, disaster relief, and peaceful intervention where needed. "We stand at a crossroads," Chen continued, her voice carrying the weight of historical significance. The galaxy once operated on principles of force and domination. Today, we choose a different path. The quantum fields that humanity developed showed us that reality itself is more flexible than we imagined. The same is true of our societies, our beliefs, and our potential. In orbit around Earth, The Great Library had expanded into a massive complex of quantum-linked facilities. Species that once fought each other now shared knowledge freely, understanding that cooperation led to greater advances than competition. Rodriguez received a quantum alert from the Artemis sensors. New signals from the galactic core, he reported. Something big is out there, something older than any of our civilizations. Chen smiled at the news. This was what humanity had prepared for, not just conflict, but discovery. The combined fleet of the Concordat could face challenges that would have been impossible for any single species. We don't know what awaits us in the unknown regions of space, she concluded her address. But we know this. Together, we are stronger than apart. Humanity emerged from isolation not to dominate, but to protect and unite. Now, we invite you to join us in the greatest exploration of all, discovering what we can achieve together. As the chamber erupted in approval, quantum sensors throughout known space detected something remarkable. The combined activities of so many quantum-capable ships and stations had begun to create stable pathways through higher dimensions. Reality itself seemed to be responding to the unified efforts of multiple species working in harmony. The age of isolation was over. The age of transformation had begun. Humanity had achieved something greater than military victory or technological superiority. They had sparked a revolution in how intelligent species could interact and grow together. The Artemis prepared for another patrol, its quantum drives humming with power. But now it was no longer a solitary guardian. It was part of something greater. A combined fleet of species united not by force or fear, but by the shared desire to explore, protect, and transform the galaxy into something better than any of them could have achieved alone. In the quantum fields surrounding Earth, ships of all designs and origins moved in harmony, their technologies blending into something new and unprecedented. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: humanity's choice to wait, watch, and emerge as guardians rather than conquerors had changed the galaxy forever. The dawn of a new era had truly begun.